You're listening to Dairy Voice by Dairy Business News, a podcast exclusively for the dairy industry.
One of our sponsors of the Dairy Voice podcast is National DHIA. NDHIA ensures information accuracy and represents their members' interests. They are the direct voice for the dairy information industry. To find out more, go to dhia.org. When your goal is to help animals reach their full potential, health matters. Diamond V offers a fresh perspective on animal health, a perspective that supports gut health, strengthens immunity, and ultimately enhances performance. For those who choose to invest in keeping healthy animals healthy, feeding Diamond V makes a statement about another dimension of profit, where margins are measured by confidence in your future. To get a fresh perspective, visit diamondv.com, because animal health deserves a healthier approach.
Welcome to our latest in our series of interviews conducted by Showbox Sires and in partnership with Dairy Business, as we interview people from around the world about the influence of great cows and genetics and management in their operations. We are trying to branch out and go global with our approach. And as many of you heard, we had a great interview with one of my favorite cow people in the industry, Brian Leslie from Australia last week. And today I'm thrilled to introduce our new guest who we're going to talk to from the great country of New Zealand. We've got many topics to cover with him today. So it is my pleasure to introduce Arjun Singh, one of the family members that owns Lawwal Holsteins and operation in New Zealand, one of the most successful breeding establishments in the country. So Arjun, welcome to our podcast series.
Yeah, good morning, Tim. Thanks for having me here. It's bright and early here in New Zealand. We've just finished milking cows, so nice to be inside and nice to be on your podcast with you. It's the last week of summer, and we can definitely feel the season starting to change. So we've got autumn coming up now, so we've just got our maize harvesting and the plans on the radar for next week. And we're calving cows at the moment, so full noise on the ranch, but it's all good.
Well, Arjun, one of the, I think those of us from North America that pay attention to New Zealand. So Arjun, I think those of us from North America are always fascinated with New Zealand dairying and the approach that you all take in New Zealand. And we're really excited to have you on the podcast and talk about Lawwal Farm and how you have been similar to the rest of the New Zealand dairy industry and how you've been different. I think I'm going to start out by asking you, I read a little about your operation. I'm fascinated, Arjun, that your family immigrated from India in 1912, if I remember my statistics right, and you and your sisters are fifth generation on this farm from your family. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, Tim. We're the third generation on this farm that we're on now in New Zealand. So we've got family. I've got an uncle that farms across the road, several other uncles that farm in the area. So I think the family probably has over 100 people in the area now that are all dairy farmers. It's a cool community with family, and everyone loves dairy farming, but also breeding Holstein cows.
That is really exciting. And tell us where in the country you're located, just in general geography.
So we're in the Waikato, which is 20 minutes north of Hamilton, and we're about an hour and a half south of Auckland. Waikato is known for its dairy farming, I suppose. They call it the cream of the country. It's mainly flat lands where we are here. We're on the peat soils, which has actually pushed us to more of a North American approach with a freestall barn. Currently, we've got one freestall barn that's housing 1,000 cows. At the moment, we're milking about 900 with the aim to push to 1,000 eventually, milking those 2 times, and they are all registered Holsteins.
Exciting. And you have family members involved in your operation, Arjun, at your current farm?
Yes, it's very family run. I've got my 2 sisters. I've got Angela, who runs the admin side of things and also helps out when's needed. She's also a registered psychologist, so she's just opened up her own private business, helping a lot of farmers out there that need it at the moment. My younger sister's just finished her master's in interior architecture. So she's currently designing our catalogue and helping out with the marketing of the sale. And then I suppose after that she'll get a job that's probably a bit higher on her pay grade because she's I think I won't be able to pay her for much longer. So yeah, they're both doing well. Mum also helps out, so she's a young stock or the calf rearer at the moment. And then my grandparents are around as well. So very family run, family business.
That's great. I would say, a lot of our listeners probably could use, maybe your sister needs to run an ad in our podcast because many of my friends listening probably could use that psychological help, Arjun. So tell her she may bolster her business just from this podcast as well. Warn her, they'll be in touch. You mentioned a little bit about you and your involvement in the operation. Tell us about your education and how long you've been home on the farm. And I will note, Arjun, in your bio, I noticed you went to Massey University at the same time that my daughter did a study abroad program there. Unfortunately, you never connected, but I got high regard for Massey University because my daughter spent some time there.
So I had done all my schooling here in Hamilton, and after my last year of high school, I left. I went down to Massey University, spent 4 years studying down there, studied Bachelor of Agri-Commerce, majoring in International Agribusiness. Yeah, it was good 4 years to, suppose, get off the farm and learn something else. After those 4 years, the plan was always to come home and start running this, and by then the freestall barn was up and running. It was all go, and I suppose Dad wanted to take a step back then, so the timing worked out all right. Here we are now, and I think fourth or fifth year being at home, and absolutely loving it.
California Bioenergy is a leading developer of dairy digesters in America. With more than 100 projects, over 50 of them operational, CalBio has the expertise to help your dairy generate revenue by capturing methane and creating renewable vehicle fuels. Founded by a dairy farmer, CalBio considers itself the most dairy-focused digester developer, building systems to last generations, along with your existing family-owned operation. Now expanding with its subsidiaries, Northwest, Midwest, and Southwest Bioenergy, CalBio is ready to serve you. To learn more about how a CalBio digester could benefit your dairy, manure, and wallet, visit them at calbioenergy.com.
So it's quite unique. You talked about your freestall barn, which I would guess is quite unique in your country. We all think of you as a grazing population. Tell us what percent of your cows are on grass, and then maybe why you went to the setup you have.
Quite a few reasons, I suppose. The main reason, where we are on the Waikato, the peat soils, we get very, very wet. It used to be a swamp. My granddad brings back these old stories when this all used to be in tea tree, and it was all cleared out and drained by hand back then. Luckily now we've got diggers, so it's a lot easier, but we just couldn't farm, I suppose, the Holstein cows on this land, and it was just getting harder and harder to fully feed cows. With the seasons changing, the window to make grass or pasture, we're just getting shorter and shorter. Dad would have been about 7 or 8 years ago, travelled to the States with GEA Cow Technologies, and he visited a few farms in the States, some really good barns and some barns that we probably shouldn't try to aim for. And he came back and straight away said, this is the direction we need to head. A year later, we started the groundwork, which was about 2 years worth of work. We had to dig out all the swamp, all the peat, and backfill that with hard rock, and then we can build on top of that. We wouldn't go back to pasture farming now. With the cows being inside, you can fully feed them. Our animal health is better, and cows are just so content being inside. But in saying that, we're able to grow so much more feed on the land without having the cows on there. So we're growing 26 to 27 tonne of maize or corn silage, and rotating that with the annual grass pasture on a year round. So we're growing 35 tonne to the hectare, and I suppose the cows would tell you that they don't want to be outside anymore. We're also able to capture all that effluent with the barn, so we haven't used any synthetic fertiliser the last 2 years. We're all effluent, so it's a sustainable operation, and we think it'll be more common as we get into the future.
And how how many dairies would you say in your country would be similar to what you're doing with a barn and taking I would call it more of a North American or European approach, Arjun?
So I know of two more freestall barns in the North Island. So it's very rare. In the South Island, there's a few more due to the harsh winters they get down there. But then again, I don't think many of them are used 365 days of the year like we do here. We've tried using it as a half a day on pasture, half a day in barn, but we've just gone to 24 hours in the barn now, and just keeping it consistent is what we've found is the way to go.
And what system are your cows milked in?
So we've got a 50 bale parlour, which is a Waikato milking system. It's got automatic cup removers. It was built 21 years ago. At the time, people were telling Dad it was too big and he was a bit silly. But looking back at it now, I'd probably tell him he was a bit silly for not making it big enough. It takes us over 4 hours to milk cows. That's per milking, and the cows, the bigger Holsteins now, are struggling to fit on there. Yeah, we'll be looking at alternatives, I suppose, in the coming years.
You know, one thing that I've in learning a little more about your farm, you've gotten several environmental and basically agribusiness awards, and you also give back to the community. And one of our topics today is your upcoming sale, but I read where you gave back $34,000 after your 2022 legacy sale. You gave back $34,000 to the industry. Tell us a little about some of the awards and maybe some reasoning behind that, and also this great contribution you've made to the business.
I suppose the giving back was built into us 3 kids from our dad. No matter how hard the times got, he was always willing to help people. 2 years ago, we thought we'd honour our dad, and we came up with the idea to have a sale, and we named it the Legacy. We thought we would have a fundraiser, an open day, and obviously the sale. So we hadn't really had an open day since the barn had been built in 2019. So we thought, let's invite the community, let's invite New Zealand open our gates to them and let them come and have a day off the farm and enjoy what we've got to offer. So we put up about 50 lots, and 10% of each lot went to Rural Support Trust and the Heart Foundation. So we had a big day out. It was a mini field day. We had all those sponsors that we work with on a daily basis, our breeding companies, our machinery salesmen, our vets, you name it, they were all part of the day. We were able to raise $34,000 that day, and that went to Rural Support Trust and the Heart Foundation. But just overall, it was an awesome day to give farmers a day off their own farm and come see what was happening here and see how a freestall barn works, and I suppose see the breeding side of things as well.
Well, a great tribute to your dad, who obviously was a great man that you lost too young. What more honor could he have than giving to the rural communities that make us who we are today? And then also to a health association to try to bring us more research in heart disease or heart-related illness. I think it's a great legacy to your dad. The sale was named appropriately, Arjun, and I think some of us need to think more about that in our lives. You know, I think sometimes this industry, we work so hard and we focus so hard on what we do, we forget that we should be helping others. And my hat's off to your wonderful family for the great honor that you've done there. And I don't think you're done. I think you're going to keep doing those things.
Yeah, that's the plan. So I suppose we've got another sale coming up in April, which we've named The Future. So I suppose we've done that. We've honoured Dad, and now we're starting to look to the future and how the future looks for us. So we've named our sale in April The Future, and yeah, we think it's going to be pretty special. I think the quality of animals is a step up from what we offered last time. We've got some pretty special North American pedigrees in there that, Tim, you probably know more about than I do. Having those animals here in New Zealand or Australia, as some of them are, is really cool for us. It's been a passion of mine to breed great cows. Importing embryos from these household names, cow families, was important, and able to offer those to the rest of New Zealand is a wonderful feeling.
You should be very excited. You lead us to the next topic, which I would say let's do this in 2 parts, Arjun. First, North American genetics. The way you and I became associated with each other, we started talking about great cows in North America. And I will compliment you to say, not talk to many young people that knew more about pedigrees of cows around the world, Arjun, than you. And I realized real fast you're someone I wanted to be associated with because you've got tremendous knowledge, tremendous passion. Why North American genetics for you?
I suppose the Holstein cows is what we've bred from when I was a young age. My uncles and cousins all have a real passion for it, so I suppose it's a family thing. I suppose the thing that's led us to it the most is that now that we've got the freestall barn, I suppose we can fit only 1,000 cows in there, and we want the 1,000 most efficient cows, and we want a cow that will fit the stall, I suppose. And that's why we've pushed the Holsteins, and other than them being the most efficient cow, I suppose they're good to look at as well, and they fit our mould. Might have to cut that one out, but yeah, we just love, I suppose, just passion for the Holsteins is.
And that leads me to, the second part of my question. In April, you've got the Lawwal sale. Give us the dates and tell us a little of the direction of that sale.
So the sale's April 19th. It'll be a Friday, and we've placed it in the school holidays. I believe it's the last day of school holidays, so that we can get the kids involved, kids here, and we'll have entertainment for them. We've got a live band. We'll have a barbecue. We'll be putting on all the drinks. Yeah, basically a mini field day. We had 800 people come through the gate for the legacy. We're hoping we can get something similar. We're planning for something similar. So hopefully there's a few potential buyers in the crowd as well. That would be nice, but end of the day, we're here to put a day on for the community. We're wanting to give back, but most importantly, we're offering what I believe the best genetics on our farm at the moment to the rest of New Zealand or the rest of the world.
That's huge. Any pioneers, as I would call you, in any industry, bring things to their neighbors and their countrymen that help them. And I think what you're offering here, Arjun, hasn't been done a lot in New Zealand. Certainly there are other great breeders in New Zealand, but what you're trying to do is certainly you're one of a few. Tell me a little about the families you've invested in. We'll get into that a little more, and then I want to talk about one of your key families. But tell me how you picked a few of the North American cows that you picked.
Yes, I suppose being so far away in New Zealand, we can't always get over to the World Dairy Expo, so you watch it on your TVs or on your laptop screens, and you see cows like Shakira or Maple, Footloose, for example, Loana, walking around the coloured shavings, and you want to be a part of that. So I suppose the best next thing is to try and get some of that bloodlines into New Zealand. So that's the way we've gone. But Tim, you can probably you probably know these cow families better than me. Is it Footloose? Is she still running around in your backyard, or is she in your barn at the moment? I think you know these cows like Maple probably a bit better than me, and what these lots can provide for the guys that might be buying them here in New Zealand.
Sure, and I'll be anxious to talk about them for sure. But before we do that, I want to talk about a cow family that you have that's kind of shocking the world with their extreme type numbers. Those of us in North America, we strive to get animals that are in the 16, 17 conformation range, on that great Canadian system, Arjun. And you've got a cow sidekick, Bella, that seems to have the magic touch right now. I know you've got some interesting offspring from that family. Tell us about the family, and tell us about the type numbers that you're getting genetically from this great family.
We purchased a heifer, would have been 3 years ago now, from our good friends down at Busybrook Holsteins in Oamaru in the South Island. Back then, I believe she was number 1 or number 2 confirmation heifer in the world, and we thought we needed to purchase this heifer. So she's 88 points, 88 3-year-old sidekick that goes back to the Barbies, and she's bred on really well here for us. So we've put her on a flush program. She's given us a chief daughter that's number 3 confirmation Stanton's chief daughter in the world. She will actually be selling in the sale in April. So she's pregnancy tested and calf to sexed embryos. And just this year, or the end of last year, she's given us a bullseye bull calf that was number 1 confirmation bull in the world. So he's pretty special, and there's a bit of interest from him overseas at the moment. So we're just waiting to see how that goes. And just recently, she's bred the number 1 confirmation heifer in the world, who's side by Eye Candy. So a really special calf, and it's quite neat for us to have something so special on the other side of the world from where the family was bred, I suppose. So that calf will also be in the sale, and we're hoping the family will continue the legacy. And Sidekick Bella's been a great purchase for us, and it's a real credit to her breeder, Busybrook, and obviously the Barbie family that is all around the world.
That's interesting because, to Mike and I at Showbox Sires, the Barbie family is one of those just magical families, generation after generation. I just really enjoyed my interview with Brian Leslie, and he brought up 3 bulls in Australia: Vale, Showtime, and Talent. That were all out of great champion show cows, great individual females that made some of the greatest bulls in that country. I think Barbie, with all her greatness through all the different branches of Barbie, has been one of those cows. And isn't it unique, Arjun, after all these generations and all these miles, the number 1 conformation heifer in the world stands in the country of New Zealand and tops the world for tight. And you put Eye Candy on the top side, you put Barbie on the bottom side, throw Sidekick in the middle, and what's her conformation number?
The Eye Candy is plus 19 at the moment, so she's pretty special. The Sidekick's still plus 16. We're hoping to breed a few more special ones, but I suppose from the 3 that she's bred so far, for them to be so high is just, I suppose, exciting, because she's still got a long way to go. She's only a 3-year-old, so the future's bright.
There's something in the water there, isn't there? I think you're barking up the right tree. I don't want to show too many of my cards, Arjun, but what if someone from the United States were to buy that heifer? Is there a way to get her back to the States from New Zealand? I don't even know that.
Yes, there is a way to get her over. Obviously, there's a fair bit of paperwork to be done to fly her over, but it is a possibility. The other possibility is for her to export embryos from New Zealand, if that may be another option. There's definitely options out there, I suppose. Importing things into New Zealand always seems a lot harder than exporting things. So I'm sure there's some interest out there that we can make it work.
But to that point, and I ask about the heifer just because I was intrigued. Back in a day, I sent some Jersey heifers to high end to Australia in a crate, but that was quite a project. But truly, the way to do this today, Arjun, is through embryos. Embryos can go anywhere in the world, basically, from New Zealand, as I understand it. Obviously, like anywhere, there's some work, but this heifer could go to an IVF or flush center and produce embryos to go anywhere in the world. Am I correct?
That's right, Tim. There's a number of boxes we have to tick to get that approved, but I've spoken with the vets on our end, and we can tick all those boxes here at Lawwal Holsteins to comfort those guys overseas if they show interest in her. So it's definitely a possibility, and it would be pretty neat for a calf or a heifer in New Zealand to have offspring born on the other side of the world again. That's breeding, it's giving the rest of the world, I suppose, a chance to get into these higher end cows, and vice versa. Like we've had the opportunity to get into the top end families from the US and North America. So there's always a way.
I'm tempted to have our producer edit this out because I don't think I'm helping myself, Arjun. 19 confirmation heifer, Eye Candy from a Sidekick from the Bella family that's 19 confirmation. I have no idea why I'm trying to tell the world about her. It's not the best move I've made today.
Well, maybe a good thing for us, but she's a really neat calf.
I think, and again, think about this. You put your prefix on from New Zealand, you put Reagan Crest on the Barbies, you put Walnut Lawn, one of the great breeding establishments in Canada, into this pedigree, all in this chart, and so many others along the way. And you said Busy Brook as well. There's a lot of power in that. I would say we recognize 4 or 5 of the global high-type breeding establishments in this pedigree. So it's really not a shock that it's exciting she's 19, but that's what you've been doing with this family, and Busy Brook as well.
Yeah, that's right. So when I suppose we purchase an animal, you look really deep into what that animal can bring to us. And you, Tim, talk about the evolution of the great dairy cow, and the thing you touch on there is the marketing side of the dairy cow. So when you make a purchase, you really need to be able to market that cow. And when we bought Sidekick Bella from Busy Brook, it ticked all the boxes for us. But the evolution of the dairy cow, as you say, Tim, is really important, and it's cool for us to get these genetics to the rest of the world. Yeah, Tim, I suppose it's been a pleasure to talk to you and form a partnership with you from the other side of the world. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and some of the cows you own.
Well, I'm always honored to meet people like you, Arjun, from around the world, and I have so many great contacts. I've been in the AI business for really 30 years now. I was a sire analyst for years. I've been a manager of different regional companies for AI businesses, and then basically bought our own AI company to focus on the niche market of type. Sold that company a few years after we bought it because it grew so rapidly. We sold that company. My wife and I were in our early 50s when we did that. Neither of us were ready to retire or sell when we sold St. Jacobs, but the time to sell something is when you have a buyer, and we chose to. We sat on the sidelines for several years, and we started our own breeding herd, Borderview Genetics. Had great success with that. A couple years ago, we had as many bred nominations for the All-American contest as anyone. So we've had great success with that. And we, like you, have focused on great cows, great sire stacks, great pedigrees. And now with our good friends Mike and Julie Duckett have formed a partnership to start a new AI company called Showbox Sires to again focus on the great cow and the great pedigree and try to make a little different genetics. Our genetics from Showbox won't work for everybody around the world, but we are trying to make a better bull for a lot of people. So in a nutshell, Arjun, I've had a 30-year career in AI and cattle breeding and marketing. I laugh because my dad was literally a cattle dealer in the northeastern state of Vermont here in the U.S. And he bought and sold cows. And frankly, Arjun, I'm just exactly like my dad. That's all I do. I like to buy and sell cows. I just probably have an extra 0 or 2 on my cows compared to my dad.
Once it's in the family, it gets pushed on to the next generation and next generation. So you touched on Showbox Sires. Have you got any exciting sires coming up through the ranks that we in New Zealand should be getting onto nice and early? Is there anything you think will be popping up over the next few weeks or months that is exciting?
Sure. One of the best things about our new company, Arjun, we've partnered with what we think are 2 of the premier organizations in AI, Select Sires, Worldwide Sires, basically as one, and the CEMEX group. And so we think we have 2 of the premier marketing companies in the world to bring our product to people all over the globe. Yeah, we're the thing that got us started, Arjun, is Mike and I own several cows that we thought would be exciting to try to sample sons out of. And so we're well underway. We're just getting started with our process. Right now at Select Sires, we have sons of Footloose, and we have sons of our Doc 8784. The bull at Select is Hendrix. And then we also have a brother at CEMEX called Heath. And also one of our favorite Canadian cows is ID Winbrook Lindsay. And we have a bull, Lazaro, from Lindsay. So we've got 5 bulls on offer right now. By the end of 2024, we hope to have about 10 more. So we'll be up to 12 to 15 bulls in our arsenal that are all go back to great show cows, but also have a sire stack that's appealing to most any customer.
Yeah, that's true, Tim. There sure be some demand for those sires here in New Zealand. With us being on the other side of the world, over here in New Zealand, we don't get to see the shows, and we don't get to come to Dairy Expo, and we don't get to, not many of us get to Medicine. Is there a cow out there in 2 or 3 years' time that you think will be the next Shakira or the next Footloose, or is there a cow you have your eyes on that has a bright future?
Well, if I really knew, I'd already have her locked up, Arjun, because that's one of our passions. But certainly, interestingly, one cow that Mike has great involvement with is a sidekick from the Barbie family that we'll have several sons of. She'll go show this spring for the first time. Very exciting cow. But a new family that I think the world is learning about is bred by the Schwartzbeck family in Maryland, the Peace and Plenty herd. And they've got a family called Juby that's got many branches of successful animals, great bulls in the pedigree. There's Goldwyn, and there's Dundee, and there's Stormatic, and there's Astrojet. And this cow family is breeding maybe like none other in the States right now, continuing to make cookie cutter, beautiful heifers and really, really fine cows. I think Peace and Plenty might add as many All-American homebred nominations or more than anyone else in the business this year. That's a family Mike and I are betting on for the future, and think that could be an exciting family.
Over the last few weeks, I've been lucky enough to listen to the evolution of the great dairy cow. Big fan of this. Can you just describe a bit more about this and what got you into the evolution of the dairy cow?
We have had great success with owning show cows and great cows. I would say Sharon, my wife, and I have invested in maybe more high dollar Holsteins than most anybody recently in the past 2 decades or as many, but they always have a purpose. We buy every one of them as a business. We partner with people that give them great care. We focus on the genetics that they can provide to the world. And if they win a show, that's all in the plus. You know, we say the showing is great fun and great competition, but I think maybe the vision that we have is it helps with the marketing. And I've been promoting the 3 pillars behind success, and it's genetics, it's marketing, and it's care. We try to accomplish that. If I think about the cow of the future, Arjun, I really think our cow, you've brought it up a little with your rotary. You know, I think we've got to be careful not to make our cows taller, but I'm also hesitant not to say we don't want our cows bigger. We ask them to do more, and we ask them to produce more, and we ask them to breed back more rapidly. I think bigger and taller are 2 completely different topics, and I don't believe we want them any taller. I think if we get bigger, we need to do it through width. And we are really in Showbox, we're really focusing on the width of the cow, because I think capacity is important to be able to process lots of feed to make lots of milk, but we certainly don't want that capacity from making necessarily taller, longer cows. I'd prefer to make a wider cow. She's got room for her udder. She's got room to walk and stand in the environments anywhere in the world. So I guess one of our theories would be, you know, we want a wider cow. You know, if people hear me saying we want bigger cows, I don't know that that's accurate. I think we want more capacious cows. And the other thing Mike and I are real believers in is cows that don't breed back are worthless to anyone. The most valuable commodity we have as breeders or producers is surplus of animals, and cows that breed and have good reproductive efficiency are critical. So we think the outside of the cow and the inside of the cow match. A big, strong cow that can manage her way through any environment will breed back quicker because she's not in the hospital pen and sick all the time.
You speak about wide cows, Tim. We were lucky enough to partner on a tattooed daughter of Footloose, and then again we're lucky enough to send some embryos over to Australia by a pretty special sire and alligator. The first pick of 6 alligators out of a tattoo daughter of Footloose. What kind of investment do you think this could be for buyers in New Zealand or Australia or the US? What do you think about this sire stack and I suppose getting the pick of 6 calves that will be born 1st of July this year?
No, that's exciting. I'm thrilled that this has worked that well. You know, the vision was to try to get some Footloose offspring again on the Australian or New Zealand soil, and you have done that, and I know Baines have also worked hard at doing that, but there's not much option to get Footloose genetics outside of North America because, you know, she doesn't make a lot. She's very stingy in her embryo production, as is our heifer, Arjun. We continue to find, if you follow what Oakfield Corners has done, Footloose and her sister were 2 of the best 3 female class that won at Madison and was All-American best 3 females for Oakfield. And Footloose daughters and her son, Flash, the full brother to the cow you're talking about, just, you know, an amazing brood cow for making heifers. And I study pedigrees quite a bit, Arjun, as you do. I don't know that there's a pedigree with 2 97-point World Dairy Expo champion cows that close in a pedigree anywhere. So, and I love the fact you throw alligator and you throw tattoo in, really fun mating.
Another cow you've had a fair bit to do with is Maple Red. And once again, we've been lucky enough to get some embryos over to Australia from this cow family, again sired by alligator, out of a half-sister to Maple Red. Tell us a bit more about these embryos and I suppose the Maple cow as well and how influential she was in her short time.
Yeah, you know, Maple, we invested in Maple, good and bad. We invested in her early enough to get some things out of her, but we lost her way too soon. And I think maybe she has been as much of a talked about cow as any cow in the past 3 decades in my career. A red cow that had beautiful pedigree, but the ability to compete in the red show and the black and white show, champion at the Royal, reserve champion to Footloose at Madison, and just a dream cow. She had such a bright future, and, you know, just had a freak intestinal issue that took her life between her 3 and 4-year-old year. So there's very little offspring out of her. We luckily, as she died, we did a terminal IVF session on her, and we were able to get, you know, a really exciting son of her that we'll have at Showbox. And we do have some daughters from previous flushes, but this heifer that's the dam of the alligators, I think that's pretty exciting. She's by altitude, a nice big bred heifer due in the summer. And so you have red factor altitude granddaughters of Maple right there on your shores.
We'll just touch on a few of these other families that I suppose we've got for offer in our sale in April. Jacob's Authority Lowana, excellent 97. Oak Calibra, excellent 97. We've got a Lambda directly from Freaky Girl, A2P2 from Miranda, maternal sister to Jacob's Unix Brandina, side by Tattoo. We've got a red carrier Lambda by granddaughter of Chairs. What do you think of these cow families, and I suppose what kind of investments, and how could this be a positive investment for the purchasers?
Oh, Arjun, they are the who's who in North America for cows. I guess we start with Oak Calibra, you know, maybe one of the greatest cows anywhere in the world ever. Cow that I think any genetics out of that cow make things worthwhile. You see her impact in pedigrees. While there weren't many daughters of the cow around the world, through her sons, we see so many offspring that are great champions, just like Shakira, that have that cow in the pedigree. So I think the fact you have something from that maternal line is incredible. Certainly, you know, you talk about having things out of Shakira, tremendous cow that's done it all. Cow that's being compared to Charity with her great success. She's a cow that appears to be, you know, changing the business with her great pedigree and how she's breeding. I guess completely switch gears, those couple other Jacobs cows go to, everybody talks about Shakira at Jacobs, and everybody talks about the B family. You know, Brittany was such a great cow and did so many good things, and you talked about that family. But I think one of the most underrated cows ever at Jacobs is Lowana. She has got some tremendous offspring. She had a sidekick granddaughter this year that stood right at the top of her class at Madison and Madison and Toronto. And I think that's a cow, a 97-point cow, that there's not enough influence. I know Mike and I are getting a son out of the alligator granddaughter of the cow. We cannot wait because we just think that's magic. And you mentioned Cheers and Doc Havnot herself. You know, those are all cows that have become iconic cows, and many of them I've been able to touch and be involved in. And so I love what you've done with your great pedigrees.
You touch on Lowana there and how she's underrated. She's a cow that I saw on the big screen winning at World Dairy Expo, and I was able to get some embryos over, and we sold a Lambda granddaughter from her and at the sale 2 years ago, the legacy sale. She topped the chart, selling for 27.5K. When we decided to have the future sale, we still wanted to give back. We wanted to support a charity. So again, this year we're supporting Rural Support Trust. We wanted to do it a bit differently this year and pick one lot that would go to charity. So we've picked another granddaughter of Lowana. We wanted one that we think may be one of our best sellers. So we're lucky enough to have another Lambda granddaughter of Lowana, and that lot will be supporting Rural Support Trust. So that's quite special to us, and that's another family that we've just loved to have here. They're great animals, and you know, putting Lambda across that maternal line has been special. I suppose the last thing I've got for you, Tim, are you planning to come in to New Zealand anytime soon? Do you have any plans in progress? I know a lot of other breeders would love to have you here, and I know Lawwal, Holsteins would love to host you.
If I wasn't so busy this spring, Arjun and I would be at the Great Sale on April 19th. You know how bad I want to be there, and I'd love to do that and see New Zealanders. I've been there a couple times, but have never really enjoyed the country and the people like I wish I could. So my wife and I are planning a big trip next winter. We're going to do International Dairy Week and then come spend a few days seeing our friends in New Zealand and traveling your great country. And I can't wait to meet everyone there. I hope we can have some meetings where we get to sit down and talk cows with some of your great breeders, Arjun. So while I can't be there for your sale, we certainly will be watching. And I'll look forward to meeting with you and many neighbors as we can get together for a little session when I'm over next January.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Tim. You're full of knowledge, and for someone young like myself, it's great to partner with yourself, and I'm excited for the future, and thanks again for having us.
Well, Arjun, as we wrap this podcast up, I thank you for your time. For someone old like me, it's pretty exciting to work with someone young like you. So, at Showbox Sires or Border View, try to work with the best people in the world. And Arjun, we're just thrilled to be able to work with you. Your passion and your knowledge of the business is second to none. And I think April 19th will be a huge day in your country. We wish you great success, and we hope the whole world will get on and watch and maybe join in and owning some genetics at your sale. So thanks for your time, and good luck on April 19th.
Thanks, Tim.